Thank you very much, Speaker. It's an honor to join in the debate today on this Take Note debate. I also want to thank my colleague, the member from Sarnia-Lambton. Without him bringing this to our attention, this major issue, this just wouldn't be happening at all. You know, as some of you may know, I used to work at Union Gas, and I was there for about 12 years. And then on January 1st, 2019, Enbridge Gas Distribution and Union Gas actually joined to become Enbridge Gas, Inc. Now, you know, there was a scrum today, and the leader of the NDP made a comment. She says it's really troubling when you see a government use a crisis like a worldwide pandemic to focus on things that, she says, that are not, well, that are not appropriate for the people of Ontario, and that, that's something that they're going to have to answer for. Well, I've got news for the leader of the official opposition. You know what? I'm concerned about the people in my riding, how the shutting down of Line 5 will affect not only the direct and indirect job losses, but will also have a negative economic impact in many different sectors. That's who I answer to, and that's why I'm accountable as well. You know, Speaker, Line 5 is one of many different lines spanning across just about 1,000 kilometres. It's vital for connecting pipelines all across Canada in junction with the United States. Its importance stems from connecting two major nodes from the Enbridge pipeline system and ensuring that proper destinations are met, branching off to go around the northern and southern shores of Lake Michigan. Now look, the location of this pipeline is so significant that Line 5 pipeline was actually split into two identical 30-inch diameter pipelines that run parallel to each other, approximately 1,000 feet apart. Located just west of the Mackinac Bridge, these two pipelines cross one of the narrowest parts of the Mackinac Straits, which connects Lake Michigan to Lake Huron. Now, in December of 2013, Line 5's capacity was increased, again to accommodate an increase in demand by 50,000 barrels per day without directly modifying the pipeline resting underwater. Now, for context, that's just over 3 Olympic-sized swimming pools of additional flow per day, which is incredible. In other words, 23 million gallons of liquid flow through these pipelines every day. Well, what do you think is being used to heat your homes, fuel your cars, power electricity? Well, you know what? This pipeline is at the heart of our modern need for oil and natural gas. The pipeline remains in good condition and has never experienced a leak in over 65 years of operation. With the pipeline's incredibly durable enamel coating and walls that are 3 times thicker than average pipes, this ensures these standards are upheld. The pipeline was also built and placed in an area of the Straits that would minimize potential corrosion due to a lack of oxygen and cold water temperatures. But enough of the pipeline details. I'm sure you're all very aware of it. So let's talk about the impacts that the pipeline shutdown would actually have on you and I and every consumer in this province. I look at this situation as a Team Canada, Team North America approach. Losing is not an option. We all must move in the same direction with one common goal. Line 5 alone delivers 65% of the propane demand in the Upper Peninsula and 55% of Michigan's propane need. Where would Michigan get 756,000 U.S. gallons a day worth of propane so quickly without Line 5? What would happen during the 14.7 million U.S. gallon a day shortage of gas, diesel, jet fuel? Think of all the people, businesses, and employment opportunities that rely on this constant daily supply. Just saying the shutdown of Line 5 creates problems within the job sector is one thing, but let's talk about statistics and actual real-life examples to put into context of how negative this outcome is for our economy. One of the main reasons close to home will be all the impacts in Sarnia, Ontario, and within the Sarnia-Lambton area. Enbridge predicts that the shutdown decision will impact close to 5,000 jobs, most of which will be local in the Sarnia area. Now, Sarnia is home to 3 of the 4 refineries in Ontario, and they heavily rely on a constant supply of crude oil through Line 5 to keep up with this high demand. Well, what do you think would happen when we're not going to have the input usually required? Most likely cutbacks and layoffs to continue being profitable? Not so sure. These job losses will be felt throughout the whole community and throughout Ontario's economy. Not to mention how many people are struggling with COVID-19 already, and adding these unemployment numbers to an already large statistic will only make our economy recovery that much more difficult. This is just a few of the economic impacts here at home, but how about the ones with our neighbours to the south? Enbridge predicts that this shutdown would have a 45% loss of crude oil from the refineries located in Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania, not to mention our own Canadian provinces of Ontario and Quebec. Just the closure of one of those refineries could result in a revenue loss of close to $5.4 billion. That would greatly affect the annual economy of Ohio and Michigan. And don't forget about the loss of thousands of direct and contracted skilled trade jobs. Thousands of more people being laid off, plus the economic revenue of $5.4 billion is a pretty big deal that I'm not in favor of, that's for sure. This pipeline creates jobs. That's why we are trying to, as a government, develop economic growth, especially in these struggling times. Why would we want to take that away? In total, it seems that 10 refineries would be affected by this pipeline shutdown. 10! This would then have a direct impact on fuel prices, as has been mentioned by my colleagues in past. I'm sure that you're all familiar with the feeling of high gas prices and their indirect impact on our economy and economic development. People don't like going out and spending more money for gas prices, especially when they're really, really high, and we're starting to see those prices starting to escalate. People don't like traveling if airline prices are too high. Companies must compete with an increase in shipping costs, and that may raise prices of merchandise. People may turn down job opportunities that would normally be cost-effective to transit to. All in all, people in the end will have less money in their pockets, which is not what our government wants to see. But let's talk about the impact on the agricultural industry as well. This shortage of propane threatens farmers' ability to dry grain, to power irrigation systems, to heat their homes, to heat their barns, to heat their greenhouses. In Quebec, Premier Legault described the situation back then that's back in 2019, as an emergency, and rightfully so. In Quebec alone, propane supplies the fuel for 29% of activities in the agricultural sector. The cost of job loss would then be, crop loss rather, would be detrimental without propane. Now I want to highlight the fact that this problem in Quebec was a shortage caused by the CN worker strike. But listen, a complete shutdown of Line 5 would be much, much worse, and as it supplies crude oil to plants that generate approximately 1,200 million gallons of propane and butane annually, of which 200 million gallons are shipped to Michigan and stimulate their agricultural economy. Economically, farmers wouldn't be able to use propane on their farms and would have to spend thousands just to upgrade their equipment. The burden of these costs might mean a loss of profitability in a sector, an agricultural sector that's already struggling. Well, what do you think would happen to the price of local produce when farmers are still trying to keep their heads above water and make a decent living? Farmers and agricultural workers all around are very worried about this decision. It will impact all of us in such a significant way. Our infrastructure is built around this pipeline. It can't just be stopped without having serious negative consequences. So let's think about this logically for a moment. With no pipeline, we're going to have to go back to how we transferred oil and natural gas before Line 5, with trucks and tankers. Do you want to know roughly how many trucks would be needed to replace one pipeline to keep up with the demand? Quick math. The pipeline now transfers about 540,000 barrels of oil or natural gas per day, and on an average tanker truck only holds about 190 barrels. That's over 2,800 new trucks per day just to move that oil. Think about the environmental impacts that those trucks would have on our ecosystem, and think about the cost implications to move all of that on trucks. Think about the road space, the infrastructure that is being used. Listen, Speaker, the pipeline shutdown doesn't make any sense. With all these concerns, in addition to the significant impact that this will have also on the agricultural industry, job sector, and the environment, this shutdown will cause more problems than it will solve, and therefore we should not support their choice to shut down Line 5. Let's keep it going. Thank you very much, Speaker.